Hi guys, Mervin here with MG Horse Transport. I'm going to show you our new trailer that we just come back in with last night, and it's finally done after 6 months of waiting. Completely custom built trailer, and I'm going to give you a little video tour of the entire thing, and then we're going to do a tour of the inside as well. So just follow along with me. So here she is, our brand new 2026 4-star that basically started from a pencil sketch that I send over to Adam at Triple C Trailers to the finished product here. Here's the other two trailers. The 4-star is a 2+1, basically a little half version of this big trailer. And then we have the 2018 Trailers USA trailer that we had completely custom built back in 2018 and what we've been running since then. We took all the things that we wish we would have done different in this trailer and changed them to what this is now. So basically made this thing just what we wish we would have made the other one, with this being the second custom build that we've done. So the first thing that we, as you can see, we put a lot of windows, as much windows as what we can fit in this thing. In the summertime, you want as much windows as you can possibly put in these things to keep them cooler. So we have 2 drop downs on this side and 5 drop downs plus all the bus windows on the other side. And we like to do the drop downs and bus windows because the drop downs help with the airflow. If you open those things, they allow more air in than what the bus windows do, so you really want both. And then the other thing that we do a little differently than we do not use fans in these trailers. We put fans in the other custom built trailer, and I noticed right away that when we're running all them fans, it was hotter in the trailer than it is without them. And the reason for that is, in the summertime, your heat rises. The hottest part of the trailer is going to be in the ceiling. So if you have fans in there, you're blowing all that hot air back down onto the horses, and it makes it hotter. So what you want to do is, well, obviously you have to have a lot of windows to get fresh air going into the windows, and then you have vents in your ceiling, and you turn them vents backwards, and it pulls the hot air up and out of the ceiling and pulls fresh air into the ceiling. And that's the only way you can keep these trailers cool, is if you have that system like that. But like I said, fans are the worst thing you can do in these trailers, so we do not put fans in them. We don't use fans at all in there because they make it worse. But like I said, you have to have a lot of windows for this to work, and you have to have everything insulated. All of our ceilings, our walls, everything's insulated. We also, all of our big trailers are an extra 6 inches taller than standard. So most of these head-to-head trailers they build these days some are still 7.5 foot tall, but a lot of them they're building 8 foot tall now. But we go with 8 foot 6 inches height. That way we have a little bit more headroom in the trailer. It makes it a little bit more roomy for the horses. You can put a big horse in there and they still have a lot of head space. But the biggest thing what it does is it makes it cooler, because you have that much more room for the heat to escape up and out of the ceiling. The horses' heads aren't as close to the ceiling, so it's cooler for them, and it just makes it a lot more roomier and makes it feel more at home for the horses with it being that tall and that big. So the next thing we did, we put 2 of these turning signal lights on the side. As you can see, one right here in front of that ramp, and then we have another one above the wheel wells. Those are turning signal lights, so they turn on when so people can see what we're doing when they're beside us. They can see when we turn the turning signals on. And then obviously, as you can see, we put a lot of lights on this thing. We want to be lit up at night and make sure people can see us with your precious cargo on board. The next thing we did with our ramps is we made them a little bit taller than standard. So that way when we drop them down, they're not as steep. So they're roughly about 8 inches longer than your standard ramps. So then we go to the back, we put an extra set of tail lights on the back. Most 4-star trailers come with a set of 4. We put 6 on this thing. And then we also put 2 backup lights on the bottom. And this backside looks very bland right now. We still need to put our decals and all of that on it, so it kind of gives it a little bit more character back here. And this is the other side. As you can see, all the drop downs and all the bus windows. And then we have a little walk-through door to get into the middle and also up into the front. and then follow along and I'll give you a full tour of the inside. Obviously this trailer is air ride. I really like how 4-Star does their air ride system here, which I'm assuming this is pretty standard, but our other custom build trailer with the air ride is not set up this nice. But it has just a switch where we can turn that switch and drop all the air out of the back, fill it back up, and drop the trailer down if we want to do that, just to make loading easier and all that. So yeah, and then here we go to the inside. So we did a green worm flooring here. I did that just for something a little different. I wanted to make it look like the horses are coming into a grass floor. You know, obviously when we fill the put shavings down and all that, you can't see it that good, but I do think it makes it a little bit brighter in here. Instead of having a black floor, it's a little bit of a lighter color. And obviously with all of our builds, with our trailers, our barn, our layover facility here in Kentucky, we built everything to make it to where you get as much natural lighting, much natural airflow as possible. And I really like this green floor, just to be a little bit different and not as dark. All of the dividers in this trailer are quiet ride, the 4-Star's quiet ride technology to make everything quieter in here. So this is our ramp to come into the front section. We did this front stall a little bit different than normal. So right here, we have an 11-foot box, so we can put a big mare baby or a big draft horse or whatever in here. So a really big stall right here. But then what we did is we cut it. 4-Star has these dividers like this, where there's no post in the middle. So you have a latch top and bottom. So it makes it to where we can open those up back against the wall, or then we can close them and make this into 2 box stalls. So as you can see right here, that makes it where we have a 6-foot box up in the front and a 5-foot box here. We did that because we ship a lot of horses for clients that we may have a load of multiple different breeds and sizes of horses for one client where they book the entire trailer. We may have some minis, some babies, mare babies, some big horses, and this makes it to where we can cut this down if we have a couple of minis that need to be separated, or a couple babies or weanlings or something that need to be separated, but they don't need the full space. Then we can put more horses in here and do it that way. Here in our bulkhead wall, we did this a little bit different as well. Most of these bulkhead walls come solid. With all of our trailers and our layover barn and our trailers, we do everything with as much natural lighting and airflow as possible. And right here with the bars up on the top, it allows for more airflow through the trailer. And it makes, then the bars in the door, it makes it where the horses in the front can see the horses in the back. And that makes a big difference for horses to be more comfortable if they can see each other and all that. So we did that. We do ship a few stallions every now and then. Most people would do a solid wall here so that they can put a stud up here. But if we do ship a stallion, we can put something over that, or we can put him in the smaller box up here, keep an open section here. And for the most part, we make sure if we do ship a stallion that they're pretty gentle and all that, because I don't want to put anything in here that's going to tear the trailer up. So that's not a big concern, but it just makes it to where if we have 4 horses and 4 box stalls in here, everything's more open, more airflow. And then right here, we put a big door right here so that we can walk through. I can put horses from front to back or vice versa, move everybody through. We can move horses around in this trailer without having to take them off. It just makes it much more versatile, makes it safer where we don't have to offload horses to move anybody around. And it also makes it easier with that big door right here to where we can take our muck bucket, clean all the stalls, and just makes everything a lot easier. Okay, so right here is our second stall. So this trailer is an 8-foot wide trailer, and normally you would have 2 dividers in here that make it into either stall and halves, or you would have your single stalls. We very rarely use single stalls in these trailers because it's just not enough room. So what we did here with this trailer, it's your normal 8-foot width, but we only put 1 divider in here. So basically it's only a 4-horse head-to-head technically. But what that does, it allows it for a lot more room in here. These dividers are a couple inches off the wall and then a couple inches wide. So what it does, without that second divider, it makes this box stall almost 5 to 6 inches wider. And it just gives us a lot more room up here. And But then also what we did here is we made it where we can bring this divider over into what would be your single, but it's wider than a standard single stall. So you can bring it over to here, or you can bring it over into the middle, which would then be your normal stall and a half, but they're bigger than your standard stall and a half because you don't have that second divider in here. We do that. We try to ship horses in the most roomy stalls possible. That's why we don't use single stalls, and that's why we didn't need the single stall option in here. So, but what we can do, if we bring this over to this section here, instead of over into the middle, it's still a roomy stall. It's basically about the same width as your 2+1 stall and a half. But then we also have the option of this is technically a box. So if we have some babies or some weanlings or ponies or whatever, we can put one horse over here and one in here, and this is a box stall. And we made this divider solid, floor to ceiling, front to back, so that there's no hole underneath the horse's head right here. So there's no option. I mean, it's completely solid. We can put a pony in one side, a horse in the other, or whatever, and they can't get to each other. The pony can't get underneath the divider and all that. So just a safety thing that we did. These things are very 4-story technology. They're quite ride technology. They're very easy to move. Very easy to move these dividers around. They're on tracks, so we can move them very easily. Like I said, we can move them right here, have a box stall here and a straight stall here, or we can move them over into the middle, and then we have your standard stall and a halves that are extra large. Right here, all of these doors in this Strider are the same type of doors that are up in the front. No post in the middle, so we can open and close them, and makes it easier for us to move throughout the Strider, move horses around without having to, I mean, if you have one of the big doors that swing out, it takes up too much space. So we do the half doors, and without the post in the middle, we can open everything up. These things swing both ways. So once again, more options to do different things here. And as you can see, Pepper wanted to help us with the videos. So anyway, here we have, we can close this up like this. And then this is our second stall. So this front box stall is about 10.5 foot long. The middle stall here is about 10 foot. And come on. And then we come to the back. This middle stall here is pretty standard. Not too much, nothing special there, but we come to the back here. In the back, we obviously couldn't do the full divider floor to ceiling up in the front section because of the wheel well, so we had to cut that out like normal. So that's pretty standard, but for the most part in the back stall, we'll just use this as a box. Every now and then we'll do a stall and a half here. But once again, the full dividers here without the post in the middle, these doors like this, makes it very roomy for us to take horses in and out if we need to. We can open this completely up like this. And as I mentioned in the video on the exterior, all of the windows, I mean, we have the lights on right now, but you can see the natural lighting in here because of all of the windows, which will help with the airflow as well. So across the windows, all of our window bars are the heavy duty window bars. A lot of Striders have the little round bars and the horses can bend them very easily, or they have the upright bars and they can bend them, stick their nose in and they bend them side to side. These, they cannot mess with these too much. There's not enough room for them to stick their nose in, and they're very sturdy. So for the most part, when we're shipping horses long distance, we set this up into 4 big box stalls, and that's how we go across country. But we made this to where we can do all these different accommodations for clients that have multiple different size horses. They might want to book the entire Strider for multiple different horses, and they need different accommodations for each horse, not just box stalls, but they might have some ponies and minis or mares and babies or whatever. We have the accommodations for that. But like I said, for the most part, we do 4 box stalls when we're going across country, and we can do that. These are the biggest stalls in the industry, and it's the most comfortable way to do long distance transportation because we don't have to offload them at night. We don't use public layovers for safety and sanitary reasons, and they're perfectly fine being in these big stalls overnight. We can come in through here with all of the doors, the half doors. We can come in through, clean the stalls properly every single day, and feed and water them properly, leave them on the trailer. And in my experience of 12 years of doing this, that is the absolute best way to ship horses long distance. And then with all that being said, the last but not least in this trailer is our camera system. So I have not installed those yet. We're going to be backing this thing into our shop here in Kentucky, and I'll install those cameras myself. We're going to put one in each stall, just like we do with all of our trailers. But one thing that I've done a little bit different, I've got a different system that we're going to try on the outside of the trailer. I don't know how they'll work yet, but we're going to put one on the back, on the outside, that'll face out the back so we can see traffic behind us and all that while we're driving. And then I'll put one on each side of the trailer, which is the same thing, so we can see beside us, see what's going on beside us in the camera system. There'll be a monitor up in the truck on the rear view mirror that'll have the 3 camera views. One of the things with the cameras on the sides, it'll help us if we're getting into driveways at night, or just kind of being able to see our blind side and our wheel wells and all that stuff from the camera view when we're making turns. So I'm going to try that out. Haven't done that one yet. But as far as the interior cameras, most of those multi-camera monitors come with about 7-inch screens, and that's kind of what we have in our other trailers. But I bought a 9-inch monitor for this one, so we got a little bit bigger view and a little bit more, we can see the horses a little bit better in that thing. So 4 cameras in here, we'll be able to see every horse in the trailer and see each box stall while we're traveling. So that's the last thing, and once we do all that, we'll put the decals. We need to put a bunch of decals on this thing on the inside and outside, and the cameras, and then we'll be ready to hit the road.